We're live. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. How are you today? How's your January going? Looking at 2024, we're like a few weeks in so far. I'm just curious, how's your year starting off so far? We've already got people checking in, and I do appreciate that. Stephanie checking in early from Simpsonville, South Carolina. I do appreciate you. Capstone says, "Hey, good evening from Huntsville, Alabama. I was at Disney World this past weekend, paid for the Garden View room at the Contemporary. I requested a free upgrade, and they upgraded me to the club level on the 14th. You were having some good luck, my friend. You always ask for the upgrade because you never know what kind of Disney magic that they're going to give. Kevin's checking in from just down the road in Lakeland. Brenda's checking in from St. Charles, Illinois. I appreciate you. Can't wait to get back to Universal and Disney. That's awesome. I'm so excited that you're going to spend some time. What's up, Zach? A man. Zachary Loft hanging out from Delaware, everybody. Good to see you. Of TikTok fame. David checking in from Connecticut. You say we watch every week. Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Hopefully we're going to bring you some value today, regardless if you live here or you're thinking about moving here. JJ Hernandez, the unofficial mayor of Hunters Creek, is checking in. Soccer practice for the kiddos started a little bit, so thanks for the live show. Farmers will be dropping us in July, unfortunately. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully we got some good news coming from here on the insurance rates. Just definitely keep checking in. I do appreciate it. What's going on? NYC Iron, formerly NYC Iron, I guess, right? But good to see you. We're going to be talking a little bit about your area of town tonight for sure. But lots of other people keep checking in. Let us know where you're watching it from. It does help. Not only does it let the algorithm know where people are watching it from, but it lets me know and I like curate my content here of where should I be focusing my energy? Should I be talking a little bit more about what's going on here in Orlando, or talking about if you're moving here, a little bit of a mix? So it does definitely help. So tonight we're going to talk about one of the biggest things on Floridians' minds, as well as people that are thinking about moving here, that they should definitely consider as a big expense living here in Florida, and that is homeowners insurance. Now, if you've noticed over the past few years, like the cost of everything across the entire country has gotten more expensive. I get to thinking very, very clearly around Orlando all the time. And so I'm watching the pricing of homes go up, the pricing of just everything go up, but it really has gone up everywhere. But insurance is almost more of a uniquely Florida sort of thing. Florida and Texas and California, really. But Florida, I remember when we first moved here, we lived in Celebration. We had a brand new house at the time, and our insurance was about $1,300 a year. That same house, actually, I just sold something right down the street, not too far away from our first home. And that same person tells me that they're paying $3,000 a year now. That's a huge, huge jump. And we're going to break down kind of like what happened, what's going on in Tallahassee, what the average costs are per county, and then maybe what's coming here. So I think that that'll be kind of interesting to talk about. We're also going to talk about some new development news over in Lake County. We've got some new hotels coming, a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So definitely check out and hang around as we talk about this stuff. But let us know in the comments if you have any questions. This whole live, every time I go live, one of my favorite things to do is interact with the crowd and talk a little bit about what's important to you. If you're looking at moving here or some more within Central Florida, some people have questions on builders. They have questions on mortgages. I'm not a lender, but I play one on TV. And so, yeah, happy to answer any questions you have about any areas of town and that kind of thing as we go along. So this is an interesting story that I found over on WPTV. This is actually West Palm. So Florida legislation session kicks off. This was actually 2 weeks ago on Tuesday. And with all eyes on property insurance, which it should, because you look at some of the stuff that's on the agenda for the next 2 or 3 months over in up in Tallahassee. And essentially you've got the social media bill that I talked about over on Instagram today, where they're trying to get rid of being able to have kids under 16 be able to use social media. They're talking about child labor laws they're trying to change. They're talking about EVs. They're talking about all types of stuff. But one of the main things that affects all of us is homeowners insurance. Whether you're a homeowner or not, even if you're renting, homeowners insurance affects you, because if somebody owns that house and their rent, your rent will eventually go up if taxes are going up and insurance costs are going up. It will affect you. So whether you own a house or not. And so back over here, they're talking about one of the main things they're going to be talking about is this insurance piece. And so I was talking to somebody earlier today. He's an insurance guy. He's up in Tallahassee, and they're going through the whole legislation and they're visiting. Apparently, it sounds like Citizens Insurance is going to be able to raise their overall dwelling policy from $700,000 in coverage up to $1 million. if you know anything about Citizens, it was actually founded to be a last resort for people, not like the number one thing. And yet, unfortunately, because so many insurance companies have been pulling out of Florida, it's become like the de facto go-to for so many people. And so they're having to raise their limits because the cost of homes in Florida obviously have gone up quite a bit. But here's some relief, and this is maybe what I was talking about on the teaser for the show. So there's 6 new property insurance companies entering the Florida market. And the thing says here, this is another WPTV, says 6 new property markets. It'll give homeowners a choice now from going actually to shop for coverage. And anytime you have more options, there's going to be pricing that will hopefully come down. And so they say here, hey, it's very positive for Florida insurance marketplace and consumers because it'll give homeowners a choice now between shopping for coverage. And this is the person who's over Insurance Information Institute. And so who are these new insurance companies? It's the 6 new insurance companies are Talro Insurance Company, Mainsail Insurance Company, Orion 180, Orion 180 Select. That seems like the same company to me. Orange Insurance Exchange, and Condo Owners Reciprocal Insurance. And so I haven't heard of any of these people, but we're going to see kind of how things go with some of these new things being able to be interjected into the market. We will definitely see. Let's check back over who's watching. We got King Jose checking in. Good evening. Working on the process with Fallon. Oh, dude, that's so exciting. I'm so excited for you to hear that, man. Keep me updated how things are going. NYC says, hey, listen, how does MCO retired 13 sound for my new username? Listen, man, if I see that pop up, I'll know that it's you. I think that's a fantastic, fantastic. NYC says, I have State Farm and it's not bad. And my first year, hopefully it doesn't go up too bad. Listen, I actually have State Farm as well. They do a lot of our homeowners insurance. They actually do our auto insurance. Our auto insurance is not as bad as some people talk about. I know it went up statewide roughly 15% last year. But for us, we still have, I think, what's affordable insurance. We've got 2 cars. I think we paid $235 a month, which it doesn't seem terrible to me compared to homeowners insurance and how much that's gone up. That's for sure. DizDeb NYC says that would be a great name. So I think you got to go with it, man. It's time to change for sure. Let's see. Miami Coffee checking in. Good to see you there, buddy. Robert checking in from Clermont. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. I am curious to hear from you who you have for homeowners insurance and how much of a change maybe have you seen over the past 2 years? Because it'll be interesting. Let's talk about, before we wrap up the whole conversation around what does it cost about homeowners insurance, by the way, here's the breakdown that West 2 News actually came up with. According to insurance companies locally, these are the different counties here in Central Florida and the average cost for homeowners insurance. You've got Marion County is the cheapest at $18.94. Lake is the second cheapest at $2,000. Flagler, $2,100. Osceola County, $2,300. Volusia and Seminole jumps up $2,800, and in Orange County, the average homeowners insurance is $2,800. I don't pay that much on my new house here, but pretty darn close. And so hopefully that will continue to come down, make things more affordable. If 2024, if there's any promise of anything going on, to me, it's that interest rates will come down. Fannie Mae actually talked about how they believe that 2024 is going to see rates continue to drop. They're thinking that they're saying Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, project that rates are going to fall in 2024 throughout the next year. In fact, the MBA predicts that the rates will end up at about 6.1 by the end of the year. Fannie Mae is talking about kind of like high 5s is what they're guesstimating. So if we can get insurance under control, we can get homeowners rate insurance. So insurance rates and homeowners interest rates come down. Affordability all of a sudden gets a little bit easier for everybody. So I think that's a very positive thing. All right, let's go back over to the comments section. What do we got over here? Robert says, I had State Farm since 1988, moved to Florida, had to get Citizens a month into our homeowners insurance. They sold to a third party. I'm curious who the third party is. That's for sure. NYC says 2 cars, $2,800 a house and $1,200 for the cars. That makes sense. Let's see. Park Rhino says, hey, we have Westwood and they're garbage. You can't even get a hold of them. Westwood was a name I saw all the time, and I have not seen them in a long, I feel like a throwback name. I haven't heard that in a really long time. All right, let's talk about a new article over by Growth Spotter that I think is fascinating, just because of the growth of Clermont. And so my Clermont fellas in the room tonight, and ladies, let's talk a little bit about that. So new Lennar plan for Wellness Way community includes a high school. And why this is, I think, exciting to me is because I live in Horizon West. I sell a lot on like the west side of town. Well, we sell everywhere now, quite a bit, but like we sell a ton on the west side of town. And one of the things Horizon West did originally was they just didn't get going on schools quick enough. So you had like Bridgewater Middle School, which had like, from what I heard, like 5,000 kids there. And the school was built for like 1,900 kids. And so they had to build more middle schools. And thankfully, they moved up. Orange County did a great job on funding these projects and getting things moved up a lot faster. But it was a few years of like definite growing pains where we needed more elementary schools, more middle schools, more high schools. And now I think we're doing fairly well. They're still moving forward. So you look at somewhere like Clermont and Wellness Way, which has the rights to be, in my opinion, the next Horizon West. And they're getting ahead of making sure that schools are zoned properly and adding more into this. So Lennar is saying, hey, we're going to be they're trying to get re-annexed into Clermont, and so the city of Clermont approved the annexation of the new Lennar site over there in Wellness Ridge, and they're going to be adding 699 total age-restricted units. So they're going to do some sort of active adult 55 and older community over there, but they're also setting aside an elementary school site, and then if they said, hey, if this moves forward, we'll also do a high school site. And I think that this would be a fantastic location for it as well. And you start looking at what else is going on if you're into that active adult lifestyle, and so many are, especially moving to Florida. It was interesting because like you had Del Webb community down in Davenport, and then you had the Villages. And for like the longest time, those were the only two like big ones people knew about. And then all of a sudden, Del Webb Oasis opened in Horizon West. That's doing really well. You've got the one over in Minneola that's doing extremely well as well. Hills of Minneola, just such a fantastic spot for that location. The hills are gorgeous. The community is beautiful. But then now Del Webb and / Pulte is getting ready to onboard a few other ones. So if you look at this whole 27 area over here, you got 27. This is kind of the Wellness Way, Clermont area. You've got the Oasis right here. And then kind of right in the middle is where they're actually going to put another one, which is great. They're taking advantage of, I think in a positive way, like not taking advantage, but they're taking advantage of the demand that we have for that whole west side area for the 55 and older active adult community. So yeah, I think this is great. Growth Spotter, Laura, my girl over there. Actually, no, this was Katie that did this story over there, talking about everything going on in this Wellness Way area. I think is a really exciting sort of thing for not only schools, but then also development costs and everything else going on there. I've been talking about Wellness Way and the Olympus project forever, and it seemed like it was fast, and then everything paused, especially last year. And then now things are getting back going with like hotel and restaurants and different separate buildings that are going to be going into this area. I think it's a really positive thing overall. Capstone said, I didn't see any commercial development associated with Olympus project. Yeah, I'm actually doing a full video on this, going back through the city council notes, going back through what their original design was, and then what's actually moving forward. So check out the channel here shortly. That should be coming out in the next few weeks. The commercial will become patient. Yeah, this is true. Oh, here we go. Thank you for dropping this in. Matt and Jennifer says they've got tower insurance, 4-bedroom in Groveland, $1,270 a year. That's fantastic. That's exciting. Oh, a bunch of people checking in. I love it. Florida Man says we got a 4-year-old house in Horizon West at $1,500 with State Farm. Just got a new quote for a house building Horizon West with also $1,500. Yeah, that's amazing. I think that this is so good. And you got to look at like, replacement costs as well. So many people over-insure, and I'm not going to tell you what kind of insurance to get, but people will get like, flood insurance and hurricane insurance and all this other kind of stuff because they're like, well, I live in Florida, I have to get all of these things. Talk to your insurance provider and say, listen, if I'm not in a flood zone, do I need all of these kind of things? And let's kind of get a really, a more logical piece to the insurance, because they are going to oversell you if you're willing to write the check. So something to think about as you're going through over here. Pickle says, my homeowners actually went down when I bundled my home and auto with AAA. You didn't, Patrick Mahomes, you didn't go State Farm? What's going on? There we go. This new camera loves to turn off after 30 minutes. It's exciting. DizDeb says Ovation Horizon West is starting to crank up too. It really is. That whole Avalon area, especially now that it's a 4-lane highway, it's doing extremely well. We love it. So let's talk about a new study that came out. I think is kind of cool. This one, the best and worst states to start a business in 2024, according to Simplify LLC. They actually broke down a bunch of different categories on how and when and where you should start a business and why. And I thought this was interesting because starting up new businesses, this is interesting. Nearly 1 in 5 working adults has started a new business as of 2022, up from 12.8% a decade earlier. And where are these people actually starting their business? Well, Wyoming actually was the #1 state. It says that the state has no corporate income tax. It's all rapid business growth. Illinois was the worst state. And the amount of people that moved to Orlando from Illinois, Chicago suburbs blows my mind. I mean, it doesn't, because I understand why they're doing it. But when you look at some of these numbers and kind of what's going on in Illinois, it makes sense. So Illinois is experiencing an exodus of educated workers, net 54,000 in 2022, and has the high corporate tax burden, which is a minimum tax rate of 9.5%. California, Connecticut, Louisiana, West Virginia also rank in the bottom 5. And so what are the best states according to this? Well, number 4 was Florida. So Wyoming, Texas, South Dakota, and then Florida. And kind of going back through, they ask and they break down why. So you can zoom in on this thing. I'll drop this in the show notes after we're live. But why was Florida ranked number 4? What were some of the things that sort of made it go? Well, they said, let's try to make it even bigger on your screen so you guys can see it while you're watching on the screen. It's about the best I can do. All right. So best new business growth, 8%, basically. We ranked 28th. So right in the middle. Business performance performed excellent, 12.7%. Job creation, we ranked number 6. Consumer spending growth, we ranked number 15th. Maximum corporate tax, inflation, educated worker net migration. This was a big one because everybody says like Florida is just like for the uneducated. Like we hear Florida man, we hear all these other kind of crazy things going on, but educated worker net migration, 144,915, the #1 state in the entire country for educated worker net migration. Does that surprise you? I don't know. It doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you. I think it's great to see that we continue to keep going on. My boy Zach's still watching here. Job creation rates. Huge job creation rate in Delaware, though. If I'm you as a real estate agent in Delaware, that would be something I'd be talking about. Huge new job creation. We'd love to see it. All right, let's see. Misadventure says, I believe it. I'm in Illinois and 2 people on my street have moved to Florida in the last year. I hear you. Daniel says, on the Orlando Real video posted when $54,000 median income, but $108,000 is what average costs. What is $108,000 figure, pre-tax or post? That would be pre-tax. So that would be pre-tax. So they're looking at what's your gross income and kind of going from there. So you've got no state income tax here. So you've just got the federal that you're paying for anyhow. Good question. Nima says, I love all the houses. I mean, so do I. It's pretty exciting. And the commercial development on it as well. David says, what's the name of your other channel? It's called The Orlando Reel. So we're over on TikTok, Instagram, and now we also are on YouTube. So we have this channel, which is still going to be dedicated towards real estate and area and development and really just more on that real estate kind of piece and how, jobs and that sort of thing, more of the economic nerdy stuff, I would say, and pretty houses. We've gotten really cool tours of some of the most cool houses in all of Orlando on this channel. Over there on the Orlando Reel, it's going to be more newsy type stuff outside of real estate, theme park stuff. We're going to do some history pieces that we've got planned, as well as news. And so I'm excited to kind of show everybody off outside of just the normal channel. What's up, Greg Mortgages? If you guys need a lender, if you're in the mortgage field where you're looking for like, hey, I need to buy a house. You're probably not refinancing right now. I get that. But in the future, Greg Matthews is our guy. This guy's been our go-to lender for so many times. We got to have you in studio, buddy. Ryan says, moving to Orlando from the UP in Michigan in June. Say hi to Kristen. I definitely will say hi. The UP, and how cold is it right there? Because I remember I lived in Michigan. I visited the UP twice. And like even in June, it was chilly. I feel like It's kind of wild. So speaking of, people moving, we got Ryan there talking about moving to Orlando. We talked about this briefly before, but people keep asking, like, with all the people still moving there, everywhere else in the country is either flat or down. How is Orlando and how are things going? And so there's a lot of different net inflow numbers coming in here. And this is a cool study from Resi Club and Redfin. They kind of talked about the net migration based on where people are searching from online. And I thought this was interesting because you had the net migration for Orlando, number 3 in the entire country. It beat out really only was beat out by Vegas and Sacramento. And so you look at people's interest and where they're thinking about moving from. It's a lot of New York. It's a lot of California. It's a lot of DC and Chicago. So again, not really surprising in regards to where we're at. But if we want to get a little bit more niche, let's talk about just specifically Orlando. How are things going? This is something for those of you that watch my channel for quite some time will have seen before. And so like I show you guys the back end of the MLS, like what's actually going on. So this is like all of the houses, every single family, condo, townhome, property in like the 5-county area. I would talk about like Orange, Osceola, Polk Lake, Seminole. What's going on in our overall real estate market? Because maybe you're thinking about getting into the market this year. Maybe you're thinking about selling, or just you want to be an informed consumer. And that's my goal for this, is to make you an informed consumer. We've got, over the past week, we've had 1,275 new listings, a lot of price decreases. And this has been pretty typical over the past year. And here's the crazy thing. And let me know what you guys, this actually shocked me. It was audibly that I gasped when I saw this. So we had 1,275 new listings, but over the past week, only 674 sold, which seems terrible. Twice as many were listed as sold. That seems really, really bad. Until you look at the pending data, almost 1,200 went pending over the past week. So what does that actually mean? So typically we look at turnover of, like, you want to see roughly the same amount of listings as the same amount of pendings. And if those numbers stay pretty consistent, pricing stays consistent and or goes up. And so, because this doesn't actually include new construction, which is a big part of our market. So if those numbers kind of stay consistent, then pricing is continuing to go up. And so when I see 674 sales, I'm like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. But I'll tell you what, December was pretty bad for us. Like my team and I, we were looking around, like we're working on systems, we're like fixing up the office, we're working on our website, we're still dealing with clients, but it was a slower month in terms of overall pending sales. Fast forward over to like January 2nd, and it was like somebody turned a faucet on. People were like, hey, we're done. We're done with New York. We're done with Chicago. We're done with LA. We're coming to Orlando. And it's been gangbusters. And so it'll be interesting to see, as these numbers continue to go on, you've got these pending numbers starting to continue to jump up, that if it starts looking at. So beyond that, this is another thing that our board puts out, our real estate board, like what's going on with overall pricing. So if you look at overall pricing right now, the average list price, or I guess final sales price, is what you really want to pay attention to. The average final list price is $517,000. And then the average median sales price is $498,000. Now, this actually has dropped about 2% over the past 6 months. This is for all 5 counties, all different products. And so we got to remember, like, places like Winter Park and Winter Garden and some other areas that are White Lake Nona, which are super hot, pricing is still kind of going up. But there's some ancillary areas where maybe they had a little bit more inventory on new construction, where pricing has actually come down a couple percent. And so this, to me, is interesting to see the average sales price across all products, $498,000. And so going back to the question that somebody asked me about how much do you need to make to buy the average home, in that example, I was saying 500,000. And right here, it's 498,900. So 499. We're kind of interesting. But if you're out there and you're like, hey, what can I negotiate? Like, what's the average off that I can get? If I see a house listed for $600,000, what can I expect to pay for that house? Well, according to this data, on average, you're talking about roughly 5% off. Now, if the house is priced extremely well, and it's an updated house that doesn't need a bunch of work, you might pay at or over asking. We've gone through over the past 3 weeks. In some areas, we're seeing multiple offers again, which is weird, because the past year we just didn't see a lot of that. But in other areas, if you see houses start sitting on the market 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, then you could probably go in 4 to 5% off, and that would line up with the data of what we're seeing here. Is that helpful? I don't know. If you're thinking about what's going on in the market, if you just bought a house, maybe you're just thinking about maybe buying a house, gives you kind of an idea of what's going on. All right, let's talk about what's going on the comment section because to me, that's always fun. Um, JJ, man, you make me smile every time you come on here. So thank you so much. He said, "Hey, yo, Ken, tell him how you sold that Hunters Creek house in some days." Dude, that was one. It was listed for like 829, I believe it was. And we had multiple offers and we got to choose. The seller got to choose what was going on with not only the price, but they got to choose their terms, in terms of like closing dates and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, in Hunters Creek, I'm telling you, people don't understand Hunters Creek's this little gem. JJ's going to tell you, we will as well. Oh gosh, so funny. Checking in from Miami. Question: some builders are doing full stick-built homes. Others do second story only, while DR Horton seems to do full block construction. What gives? Did the code change? That is an amazing question. So no, the code didn't change, but the different costs did. And so you look at some areas. Actually, just had a builder conversation this morning. That director of sales for this one big real estate or this one big builder was asking me what I thought about it and why there was a different kind of perception in the market between stick-built houses where it's all frame, or you got block and stick, or all block. So if you're coming from Miami, which so many people are, they're looking a lot of times that they want something that's hurricane-proof. Or if you're coming from Naples or Fort Myers, they want a block construction house. And so, because their perception is, I got to make sure this thing withstands anything, crazy amounts of wind. If you're from the north, you're like, hey, we're kind of used to seeing stick built houses all over. We don't have block. And then if you've been in Orlando for any given time, you've seen a lot of like the block on the main level and stick on the second. In my opinion, well, I'll give you their example first, and I'll give you my opinion. Their example, they say, hey, listen, if we're going to build a stick build house, an all frame house with 2x6 construction, they're going to foam up the entire thing. And they say, hey, we're going to give it the best insulation value way beyond anything that we could do with a concrete block construction. And then many of these people are foregoing stucco and they're doing HardieBacker, like it's called HardieBacker is a brand name, but it's basically like a cement board siding. And they're like, hey, this is going to be super energy efficient, really high energy efficient windows, blown in insulation, on and on and on. And so they're selling it as this package of like the framed house is actually more energy efficient. Where my suspicion, my opinion, is that it's probably just easier to make and a little bit cheaper. You don't have to worry about, setting, once you set the foundation, you don't have to worry about setting the block, and you're probably saving. They can put up a house that's a framed kind of in a few days, whereas the block might take an extra few weeks by the time you're setting the each different level. I have seen, if they don't spray foam or they don't put up enough insulation, though, I have seen drive around, especially on one of those days where it's a little cold outside at night and then it heats up during the daytime. You'll notice on the side of some of these stucco houses that you can actually see the framing every 16 inches, because that's where they frame 16 inches on center. And you can actually see kind of right through that. And to me, I'm like, that cannot be the greatest R value for insulation when I can see what's going on in the house, right? That's probably bad. And yet time will tell how some of this stuff goes. DR Horton uses it as block all the way up because they typically have a slightly lower finish level on all of the stuff on the inside. Their cabinet level is typically, their base level anyways, if you don't upgrade, is a little bit lower. Their flooring is a little bit lower. The windows are a little bit lower. Like everything is just a slightly less expensive, less quality, because they're a value builder. They're looking to pick up the first time home buyer or someone that's value conscious. And so they use the block as like a, look what we do, it's amazing. But then on the inside, they kind of make maybe slightly cheaper product. Again, if you don't upgrade, you can always upgrade and that sort of thing. So hopefully that's helpful. We shall see. Florida Man says, hey, have I seen any resales starting to increase in Horizon West? What's the best month of the year to list your house? I'll tell you, the worst month is usually January and December. Usually we don't have as much people from out of town. Overall sales kind of slump. But really, if you want to beat the overall rush of other people putting out their house on the market. So typically most people list their house between like May and August. And so listing there, you're just going to be another one of a bunch of other houses for sale. If you want to beat and be like one of a few, which you're going to be able to maximize your bottom line, then you list outside of that window. And so in my opinion, like February to April is a really great time. And then like in some areas of Orlando, depends on where you're at. September and October are also pretty good. Magic Park Memory says not many office buildings here in Winter Garden or Windermere. You're right. It's, I mean, especially even on the retail side, retail people, we tried to move our office before we came to where we're at now. Um, there just wasn't a lot of options for office space. And so there's a lot of retail going in, but not a ton of office. But if you look around across the country, office is getting decimated. And so my guess is you've got a lot of these developers that are like, do I want to go build a $40 million office building when all these other places are struggling, and maybe to get to even 50 or 60% occupancy in some cases. So that's what I would guess. Co-working spaces, I feel like, are doing really well though. All right, going back over here. David says, hey, I'm checking in from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm super excited to move to Florida. Well, David, man, we're excited to have you. We are excited to have you. Oh, this is a good question. DS says, hey, can you comment on the number of listings that are listed but then just taken off the market? Many of the houses I've been interested in are on the market for 3 to 12 months and then removed. Well, listen, if a house is on the market for 12 months, there's either something wrong with the price or the condition. There's obviously location and that kind of thing, but price and condition are what's it. If you look right now, what's going on in our overall market, months of inventory is about 5.26 across the board. And you look at these price brackets and how this breaks down. The luxury market, so something over $1 million, has a 10-month supply of homes. That's a really, really high number. Anything 400 to 500 or really under, you're in kind of more of that stable trending towards seller's market. Anything over $500,000 is really trending towards a buyer's market and many things for looking at new construction. They're going to be buying down your rate in that price point. On resale, yeah, I mean, in certain pockets, we are trending towards a buyer's market in these couple price brackets. So when you look at overall, it's 5 months. 5 months, I've always said, basically 1 to 3 months is considered a seller's market. 4 to 5 months is a balanced market. That's actually where we want to be. So we're actually in a good spot. 6 months plus is a buyer's market, and that's not as good of a thing. Dizeb says, oh, sorry, DS. So answering your question. So if you're overpriced and you're on the market for 3 to 6 months and you don't sell, a lot of sellers now are just saying like, no, like I want my price. My neighbor sold for $1 million. I want $1 million. Well, maybe their house is only worth $975 now, and they're just not getting it. I've got plenty of clients, buyers that go through and say, we want to see a house. We want to write an offer. We write an offer what I think is fair based on the current market conditions, and the sellers kick back and they're like, no, we want full price or nothing. And so if the agent isn't explaining to their client what's actually going on in the market, they get in their own head of like, oh, well, my agent said the market's great and I don't need to lower my price. Again, super market dependent, city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood sometimes, but a lot of times that's what we see. Dizdeb said, hey, Dr. Phillips is really nice. We head over there at least once a week from Horizon West to shop, eat, or Restaurant Row. Not only that, I mean, Dizdeb, like Dr. Phillips is amazing, Restaurant Row, but then like that O-Town West area, and then everything else that's coming into Nobu is going to be coming in across the street to, actually, I want to show you guys this. This is actually pretty cool. Coming soon, Nobu finally. Let's be moving forward. There we go. That whole area is just going to continue to get better and better and better. So developer plans 4 hotels, 16 restaurant project near Disney Springs. Now they say Disney Springs, but this is actually I-4 right here. So this is really more so like Brian. There's Laura. I knew Laura wrote a good story that I cared about this week. So they've got 16 restaurants in the conceptual plans, 2,600 diners and entertainment venue, capacity of 1,600 guests. The master plan community says 270 apartments designated with club membership units and a 26,000 square foot spa. The Nobu Hotel website says that Orlando is going to feature 300 rooms, including 8 villas and a Nobu restaurant, 50 branded residences, meeting and event space. And so if you've never seen like Nobu Vegas before, it's one of my favorites. Let's check this out. This is what's coming to the area. So Let's see. If you don't want to Google it here, check out the images, but it's a really high end kind of piece. And so to see what was originally going to be there, here we go. Yeah, Nobu at hotel at Caesar's Palace. It's a really like high end experience that I was really excited about when I heard it was coming. It's backed by Robert De Niro and Chef Nobu and a bunch of other writers and directors. Very, very cool. What it was originally going to be on this property, though, by the way, was a Great Wolf Lodge. So an indoor water park, especially if you're from up north anywhere, you definitely know what a Great Wolf Lodge is. And so it's seemingly that they're going to be taking that out and bringing in the Nobu Hotel. So anyways, long story short, it's going to be something like a $400 million development. And they're going to be moving forward on it finally after kind of pulling back and waiting for a while. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm bullish on that entire area. JJ Hernandez, General Hernandez. Daniel says, I nominate JJ for guest host next week. We should do like a little call-in session, my friend. ID Cud 50 says, closing on Horizon West in March, nervous and excited. Well, you should be. Nerves are great, especially on big moves. I'm glad you're excited. That's really cool. Santos says, I wonder if you could give me some ideas on my best investment option that could bring me the biggest return on investment in today's market with a budget of 2 to 3 million. So I think about, if you're looking at one place, I wouldn't. I would probably divide it up into a few different ones. And I think I look at some different markets that are still emerging and I think have the biggest upside. You take 2 or 3 million and you probably buy 4 or 5 houses in some of the areas that I talk about often that I think are still have a lot of upside. So Lake County, I think has a lot of upside. I think like St. Cloud, Lake Nona area, like St. Cloud, Sunbridge, up through Lake Nona, especially Lake Nona in the areas that they're about to be done building at. Like, I think that to me, I know there's a lot of land left, but I think that some of those more marquee areas are really good. But I wouldn't go buy like a $2 or $3 million house and hope for like a 10% return. You could go to like Reunion, obviously, and drop $3 million. Might not be the best ROI. I also look at like lakefront property. I'm a big fan of this. I've been looking for myself lately and looking at the overall appreciation value of some of these bigger lakes in Orlando and how people just keep tearing down things and making bigger and bigger houses. And the returns people are getting there are kind of insane. But that's my opinion. I would probably divide it up over 4 or 5 houses instead of one big one. I also probably wouldn't go condo or townhome if you're looking for a pure investment play, just because the homeowners association nicks away at your overall ROI. Like, I own a townhouse over in Lake Nona. I did it strictly for the appreciation play. Yes, it cash flows, but it does eat away at your monthly cash flow. I love that you guys are like loving on each other too, by the way. Like DizDev's like, hey, welcome HW. You're going to love it here. It's so cool. You're going to be my neighbor. Grateful you're my neighbor. That is so cool. Sir Piglet says, checking in from Groveland. We had friends bring us around Orlando and visited the Wellborn. What an amazing place. I agree. I love the Wellborn. So many cool little bars and restaurants popping up. Kevin says, I listed my house in Williamsburg. I'm leaving to the Space Force. I found you late. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. We would have loved to help you, but thank you for your service. I'm excited to hear how you go. King Jose, dude, have you not checked in? Yes. This is a classic. This is a classic monorail door. This is from the 80s. I bought it from, it was an auction in California. I was online and then they shipped it here. But it's funny because it's an Orlando monorail door that I have people sign when they come in and they go live with me. But it made it back to California and then they had to ship it back here. So that was an amazing response. Thank you. Moving into a Shears or Horizon West area. FYI, Joseph Shively's been keeping us informed on local options. That's amazing. I love that. Joseph's my dude. Joseph was actually the first agent that ever worked on my team. We got 26 agents that work on our team now, and they all kind of specialize in different areas. But Joseph was the first one to give me a shot. And that for that, I will be much grateful. Goodness gracious, I'm just catching up on your comments. I apologize. Johnny says, move to Haines City. Nice and warm here tonight. We're having our barbecue. You can't do that stuff up in Michigan in January. That's for sure. By the way, yes, Haines City. I do think that like the Polk County area eventually, as Lakeland matures, and like you got Davenport pushing farther and farther down, that those Haines City areas are actually still affordable as well. Like people use them for vacation homes all the time, but I think a lot of the people that work in hospitality also have filtered down there because it's still affordable and there's so much land that you're not getting the appreciation play immediately. But I think you're going to look up 10 to 15 years from now and you're going to be like, yeah, that was a good play. Also, Johnny, go Lions. I'm excited. Why Superstar says, hey, what's up, Superstar? I heard your episode. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That was a fun podcast to do with Jason Abrams for sure. Felipe says, cheers from Reunion. How do you like in Reunion, Felipe? Hope you're doing well. Sorry, going through here. Oh, here we go. It's a good question. Waterleigh or Minneola? I'm torn between the two communities. This is a great one, Pickles. I love this question. So Waterleigh or Minneola? So I think so. The Waterleigh location is hard to beat. They also have amazing amenities. I think if you're looking for the long-term appreciation play, Minneola it probably would be where I would go just because it's still emerging and I'm just a big fan of what's going on out there. That's a great question. I think that if you're, dollar for dollar, you're going to get more house for your money in Mineola as well. It's just you have to wait for the appreciation, right? So, or not even the appreciation, but just even like the stuff coming, the retail, the restaurants, all the other stuff. There's plenty to do in Clermont already, but Horizon West is super close to Disney, and so like Waterleigh is a great play for there. I've placed so many clients into Waterleigh that use that because they love the amenities of the neighborhood and the location to Disney. So it really depends on how you live. It's going to be a big one. Star says they put a Foxtail in the packing district. They sure did. And if you haven't seen this, it's one of the coolest ones. I need to go there and do a little video actually, because it's the coolest coffee shop / that you'll ever see. Look at this thing. Thanks for bringing it up, Star. So yeah, this is the packing district. This is actually the old juice stand that was in the packing district that they've repurposed. They actually redid the whole thing, but they just designed it after the original juice stand that was there in the packing district. And the packing district is over. They have it. It exists because it used to be where they'd bring all the oranges into these industrial areas and then pack them up and ship them out. And so it's going to have Kelly's ice cream as well, the Ravenous Pig Brewing. And so whether you're looking for coffee, a beer, or ice cream, it's going to be really cool. And so a really good addition to what's coming to the packing district. I think that's going to be very cool. Ken, what's my Foxtail order? All right, here we go. I like their cold brew, and then I just usually get I ask for 1 pump of vanilla, 1 pump of caramel. That's perfect. No milk, oat milk, soy milk, any of that stuff. Just a little flavor. Cold brew is where I go. Fallon says Ken is a large cold brew or a Topo Chico guy. I do go to. I don't know why, because Foxtail always has Topo Chico, and so I got to make sure I jump in on that. Pickle says, thanks for the insight. I appreciate it. Has Everest Place started taking deposits? I noticed the neighboring Margaritaville has dozens of listings. Hey, Norman, what's wild about Margaritaville is we had some clients that were building condos there and they canceled their contract midway because I think they're going to be redoing some of the layouts and some different things over at Margaritaville on the condo side. There are a lot of resales going on there, though. You're absolutely right. When you see people that bought them for either an investment purpose, which I always say, I don't think Margaritaville's the best investment. I think you buy it because you want somebody to offset the cost and you love the lifestyle. That's why you buy at Margaritaville. But people, were sold there and they bought there, and it's fine. So because they don't pencil right now, and hey, if you bought it and all of a sudden you're like, I need to divest, that's why you're starting to see more and more listings. But it's an amazing product. I think the houses are fantastic. The Margaritaville itself, resort, is beautiful, and the location is really hard to beat. But going back to your original idea on Everest Place, so the MISC, I believe, they're starting to take investor deposits for their condo hotel product, but there's not, I haven't seen anyways, any layouts or really any information. So it's very early on into the project. So what I believe is that they're going to be doing the medical piece up front, some of the retail, and then the Nickelodeon hotels. And then after that, it'll be the MISC with the condo hotel product. Yes, it's my favorite thing ever. What's up, Grace Pelly? Good to see you. Oh, there it is again. This beautiful camera of mine. You know, I think it should stay on. I agree. The architecture here is just so stinking cool. We should do a little like a Foxtail takeover in the packing district. Go check out the bricks with Toll Brothers, and then go grab a coffee, because this is one of my favorite. That's a good question. Danny Zach says, "Hey, what do I think about the new SeaWorld hotels getting developed?" I think it's a great thing. I was I was never like a huge SeaWorld fan for like the longest time. They're growing on me like more and more. I think that their events are getting better. I think they're really focusing in on more so. Where's the I was looking for on roller coasters, which is going to be interesting. As somebody who like loves roller coasters, I think this is really cool. But when you look at the whole 500 room hotel with direct theme park access right into SeaWorld, I think that that's also cool. You don't have to walk and go down this other thing, but it's going to be huge. I think that they're going to have to do something. There we go. There's some of the renderings on the outside. It's huge. And you look at that, I think when you look at what Epic Universe is doing not too far away, they're going to have to do something to keep relevant. And I think that this makes a ton of sense to me. McGriddle says, "I'm driving from Clermont to Winter Park. Good luck. Good luck. That's going to be a hike." Well, at least it's 7:46, so it's not going to be too much of a traffic. You'll be fine. Seda says, "Hey, we looked for the home in Clermont last year. We concluded that the region required time to grow. In the end, we purchased in Lake Nona. We love it though. How's the situation in Clermont now?" So it's more of the same. There's a lot of like, you buy in Clermont for it's affordable right now, and you're buying into the future. I love Clermont. I think the lakes are beautiful. I think the location's great. You are buying into the future. And so you're going to find yourself driving over to other places to find a lot of the creature comforts. Although like 50 has gotten mature very fast. That's why I like the Minneola area, because it's close to the turnpike. It's close to a lot of great things that are going on there. If you go too far into Clermont, you just feel maybe a little farther removed than you'd want to. And so that's why a lot of people end up resorting to like a Lake Nona or somewhere else. But again, if you're looking for the long haul and or you're looking for something a little bit more affordable, Clermont's the spot. A spot, I guess. There's a lot of spots, but I love the pipeline ride over at SeaWorld. Yeah, there's a lot more coming too. What's the name of the high rise? LEC, what's the name of the high rise condo we're building, and when does it take deposits? You got to be more specific on that one, because there's a lot of cool ones coming in terms of condo buildings. But feel free to reach out. I'll help out however I can with condo deposits. That's it. I think we're wrapping up on the questions and sort of the stories that I had. Florida Home Insurance. We're going to be pushing our fellow Floridians up in Tallahassee to hopefully do some legislative, meaningful change that actually helps our pocketbooks for once, instead of all of these other projects they're working on. But I'll be pushing on that. I hope you will as well. But thanks for hanging out with me. It's been a good 48 minutes talking about all things real estate, theme parks, and living in Orlando. My three favorite topics outside of my family. That's for darn sure. So I do appreciate you all, and hope you have an amazing rest of January.